Hello guys, welcome to Bike Matters. My name is Alex and welcome to the Ducati Monster SP, an absolutely stunning machine. Been riding it here today at Silverstone and the sort of surrounding area. It's been a fantastic taste of what this bike is. This is really a first impressions review. First time I've jumped on it personally and I've had a great time. But before we go any further, let's have a look at it. So, before I get really into the bike, I will just say a brief hello as well, because I'm sort of new to the channel, sort of old to the channel. I'm returning from elsewhere. You may have seen me around on the internet. I'm back here at Bike Matters and we're going to be doing a lot of these sort of reviews. We're going to do some fresh launches, some sort of living with style reviews and having bikes in. But without talking too much about what's going on with the channel, subscribe if you're not already. Let's talk about the Ducati Monster SP. Now, Ducati floated over an invite to Bike Matters to test out a few of the fleet because it's a whole press day here. And today I've ridden this, the Monster SP. I've also ridden the Scrambler full throttle. And then at the end of the day, I had a real brief try on the Multistrada V4S. And I've got to say, I finished the day with the hugest smile on my face because it's been just impeccable. My first time riding all three bikes, and as I say, we didn't really get too much time because it's all compressed into the one day, but it was nice enough to really get a taste of what the bikes are about, how they ride on the road, and just what it would mean to ride it again and be an owner, because I've jumped off this Monster SP and I just wanted more. Genuinely, I got off this and I thought, I get it now. This is actually an incredible motorcycle. Now you may know, of course, the Monster, the Monster Plus, and then the Monster SP. They're all three different specs of the Monster bike. Of course, as you can see in front of you, there is no trellis frame. So if you haven't seen what Ducati have been doing to the Monster, I think it was a year or two ago that they re-released the Monster and they updated it. So now it's got a front fairing rather than the trellis frame. And it's a lot sleeker in my opinion. When I first saw it, I won't lie, I thought it was a little bit too Japanese per se. But then when you see it in person, especially this SP edition, is stunning. In terms of price differences, real quick as well, the standard Monster is £11,295 or thereabouts. The Monster Plus, which gives you a few extra bits and bobs on there, is £11,495 or thereabouts. But the Monster SP is where it really steps up to the next price bracket, and this is £13,995. But you get so much for your money there, and if you're already looking at Ducati, you're probably not thinking too much about budget, you're thinking more about how much fun you're going to have on it. Now this one is a quick overview. It's got Öhlins, fully adjustable front and rear. You've got huge Brembo Stylema brakes with massive discs on there, front and rear. You've got a Termignoni exhaust, which is stunning and it sounds beautiful when you're shifting down the gears. And then there's just other little bits and pieces around there, which you can probably see. We might bring up on screen a few bits. But it's that beautiful MotoGP inspired colorway that really sets it apart for me. But just all in all, the package is exceptional. But before I go too far into about how it looks, how about how it rides? Because this engine is absolutely phenomenal. It's a Testastretta L Twin, so twin, with 937cc. It's around about 111 brake horsepower and around 93 Newton meters of torque. We'll get some more engine spec on screen for you, but this thing is absolutely incredible to ride. Whether you've got it in one of three ride modes, sport, road, or wet, it just wants to push on all the time. As I say, jumping on this for the first time, I will admit, I set off in wet just to sort of get my eye in and just understand what the bike's about. But 100 meters down the road, I was already in road mode to just sort of let it open and let it sing. And then later on in the ride, I was in sport mode and I was really going for it, but within the limits, of course. The bike itself, when you're pushing on the throttle, it just responds so beautifully. And when you get really to the high 10K rev limit, of course, you've got your peak brake horsepower and torque figures throughout. But when you get up there, it's singing and it just pushes you so far. In terms of gearing, you've got a quick shifter up and down and it's really nicely done. It sort of blips the throttle as well when you're going down a gear. And if you're in, say, third gear and you've been pushing through the gears, you can get to some pretty silly speeds quite quickly. So if you're pushing around at the weekend with your mates who are on liter bikes, this thing is going to be absolutely keeping up with them. At least the guide rider was on a Panigale V4S, and For the first part of the ride, I was behind him and I was having no trouble at all keeping up with him. Of course, he wasn't pushing it because, you know, we're on the road after all. So this thing rides beautifully, and I will admit again, as a taller rider, I'm 6'3". I jumped on this thinking I might feel a bit cramped. The foot positioning is a little bit sporty and you are leaning forward on the bars a little bit more than your standard naked bike, but it's actually very comfortable. The seat height is 840mm and I felt quite comfortable on it, I won't lie. It's quite nice and soft and padded, and jumping on it, it just felt so nimble. Any little tweaks you're doing to your riding positioning when you're riding along, and it feels like the bike really responds positively to that. Even mid-corner, if you're going through sort of a sweeping bend that sharpens in, if you know, dip in a little bit, it will do it. And it might sort of fight a little bit to find some traction in the corner, but once it's found it, you can really accelerate out and it's great fun. As I say, when you're accelerating out properly as well, the front wheel does get a little bit light, so see what I mean with that, but yeah, good fun, good fun. In terms of other bits of spec, the TFT screen is very visible, really nice to use, and you've got a nice switch gear to navigate your way through it in terms of changing the rider modes or diving deep into there to adjust to sort of throttle response, stuff like that. It just really dials in nicely and it's very clear, especially in the direct sunlight. And as you can see, I'm kind of squinting a little bit, but I saw the screen fine. The Öhlins, as I say, we're only riding for about 2 hours tops, so I didn't get any chance to dial in the suspension, but it felt pretty good for me already. Bike itself weighs 186 kilograms, and coming into a stop or when you're hammering on the brakes, those Brembos are superb. You just push on the brake, and if you need to push in a little bit more, it's very responsive. You don't have adjustable levers, but it's the Brembo master cylinder on there, and basically it's top spec. You are paying top spec money, but it's premium that you're getting there, and I won't lie, the SP is right up there in terms of one of the most fun bikes I've ridden this year, last few years easily. So rounding this up, because this is very much a first impressions review, I can't honestly say I'd jump off a bike in 2 hours and know all of the ins and outs of the bike. As I say, it was very much a first taste of some of the Ducati lineup. I will just throw in as well, we've got the Scrambler full throttle and the Multistrada V4S, so keep an eye out for reviews on those. But this Monster SP is a fantastic option for someone who's probably got a little bit of money to spend, but also wants that performance on the SP sort of Ducati course side of things. This bike is going to be available in dealerships now. You can go into your local Ducati dealer, and if you ask them nicely, I'm sure they'll let you have a go on it, but the line's probably quite long because this is honestly one of the most fun bikes I've ridden. This is something I'd look at as like the sort of instant step up from the A2. Ducati used to have this 30 years ago as a welcome to the fun of motorcycling and as a sort of tease into the entry. You may know the Monster history, but they had a load of sort of entry-level models that are more mid-capacity, and now they've sort of settled on the sub 1000cc market for their naked bike offering. But this thing is so easy to ride, but so fun at the same time. The full review is going to be on Lexham Insurance website, where BikeMatters homepage is situated. So I'm going to have my full sort of composed thoughts and feelings about this bike, but stay tuned for more. There's going to be the Scrambler full throttle review coming shortly. Also, thanks so much for watching. Leave a comment if you like this style of bike, because especially with no trellis frame, is it a bit too different? Do you like it? Have you had a go on one? Let me know. Leave a like if you haven't already. Subscribe to BikeMatters to stay up to date with me and the team, and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao.